Yo, check this out. One of the topics that has been, kind of dominating the boxing hemisphere over the past month plus is the whole issue with what's going on with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Know that supposedly they were going to have a third fight between each other after Tyson Fury scored the stoppage victory on February 22nd, 2020. And that they're supposed to have a third fight, but the third fight hasn't happened. And, there's, debate on both sides as to whether this third fight should happen or not. But wanted to bring up a couple of things here that I feel like some people are sleeping on. And both of these are from a business perspective. Okay. Number one, the involvement of Fox, ESPN, or Disney in general. All right. We know about the whole deal with the second and third fights, that both of those fights were supposed to be joint pay-per-view efforts through Fox and through ESPN. So we had the first fight that was February, that was done, under ESPN, basically under ESPN production. So the next fight was supposed to be done under Fox's production and presentation for the pay-per-view. Okay. So we haven't had that end happen yet. And given what did take place on February 22nd, you did have, the amount of pay-per-view buys that did take place. You had the amount of people that did show up for that particular event over in Las Vegas, and that is a good amount of money that could be left on the table there if this fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder does not happen. So I haven't necessarily, seen anything as far as like representatives from Fox, representatives from ESPN, or corporate people from Disney who, resides over both of those networks, that says this particular fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder isn't necessarily going to go through. Okay. And that would be potentially a good amount of money that would be left on the table if a third fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder doesn't happen. But that leads to the other thing that I feel like not very many people are talking about when it comes to this ordeal. And that is the contract of Tyson Fury, right? So Tyson Fury, had reportedly agreed to a deal through Top Rank. And this was, of course, after the first fight that Fury and Wilder had on December 1st, 2018, that Tyson Fury had agreed to a deal for 5 fights for $80 million, right? $80 million guaranteed, pretty much. Okay. So the 5 fights were supposed to go down. Okay. And what have we had so far? We've had Tyson Fury fight Tom Schwartz. We've had Tyson Fury fight Otto Walling. And we had Tyson Fury 2020 fighting Deontay Wilder. So now you have 2 fights left on the deal. Okay. And what is the other thing that has been brought up as far as news in reference to Tyson Fury? That has been the supposed 2-fight deal between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Okay. So now you have a 5-fight deal through ESPN and Top Rank. You've already gone through 3 fights. You had your fight with Deontay Wilder, but with whatever's been going on as far as like the contract and the rematch that's supposed to take place. Here you have an issue. Are you going to go forward with a third fight with Deontay Wilder, or are you going to be able to go through the 2 fights with Anthony Joshua? Now, we know about the supposed guarantee that Tyson Fury has, but there may be ways for him to get more off of that guarantee so that he gets additional money from the back end for fighting certain guys, whether it's Wilder or Joshua. So, if he fights Anthony Joshua instead of Deontay Wilder, particularly in the first fight, even though he could have a minimum guarantee, he could probably, and people may say likely, make more money fighting Anthony Joshua than fighting Deontay Wilder. So they may be more inclined to say, hey, whatever went down with the contract as far as like the third fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, there was supposed to be a time limit on that, let it lapse or whatever happened. So because of all this, and this is part of the, this is in the language of the contract, that, hey, we got to move on. So we're going to go forward and have the 2 fights with Anthony Joshua. And that would end the 5-fight deal that Tyson Fury had with Top Rank and ESPN, unless if they, renew the contract, of course. But you think they would want to see if they could have more off of that guarantee that they invested towards Tyson Fury? Probably would. And they feel that they would get more off of getting 2 fights with Anthony Joshua than having just the 1 fight with Anthony Joshua that would be later on down the line after having the 3rd fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Share your thoughts about those 2 points there when it comes to why there may be an issue with the whole ordeal with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and the 2 points that I put up that it hasn't really been discussed that much. If you have any other thoughts about what may happen next with Tyson Fury, feel free to share those here in the comment section, and be sure to subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. And we do have a podcast where you can share your thoughts as well, usually live every Sundays. But you can also listen to it on iTunes or whatever you use for your podcast. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.